Hello, Fantasy Faithfuls, and welcome to the CST Fantasy live stream. And as you can see on the screen, we again have Nick Faber with us. What's up, Nick?
Not much. Thanks for having me back.
Love having you on board. Today, we're doing a little earlier stream. We're going to tweet it out right now that we're live. Actually, bam, that was not how you send tweet on this new Twitter. That's the tweet button. So we're live here. We're talking running back twos. So I've done some changes here. I put the RB usability comparisons sheets, I should call them charts, down at the bottom of the stream. So they're gonna fly by you as you look. If you're just listening, we're gonna talk a lot about running backs, and we're probably gonna branch out and talk a bunch other crap as well. But we're gonna try to focus on running backs. Other than that, we have the Dallas Cowboys score prediction video live here on the YouTube channel. Got a lot of interesting feedback on people saying that they won't touch any Cowboys player at all in the draft. How do you feel about that? I know we said RB2, and we've touched on Ezekiel Elliott in the past, but where do you stand on that assumption that I'm not touching any Cowboys player? How do you feel about that?
I'm ecstatic. I can't think of a better word. That's great. I hope no one wants to touch those Cowboys because I'm taking them all. I will gladly sit here. Zeke, obviously, like you said, we talked about Zeke. He's my running back one. He's my number one overall player. He absolutely needs to be number one pick in any fantasy draft, any format, standard or PPR, half point PPR, doesn't matter. In regards to the other Cowboys that we're referring to here, Dak Prescott is like a top 10 quarterback every single time he goes on the field. The only times that he wasn't is when they were sending out Allen Hurns and Michael Gallup as their two wide receivers. And I like both of them. I think they're plenty good, supporting wide receivers, but neither of them are, studs and athletes. And Dak Prescott isn't Tom Brady where he can make any wide receiver a phenomenal wide receiver. However, he is a good quarterback. He gets you rushing yards. He gets you rushing touchdowns. He gets you passing yards, especially with Cooper on the field. They bring Witten back, who knows the offense. I'm not expecting Witten to be a huge playmaker, but it's a safety net for Dak Prescott, and it'll be used to help kind of, pad his stats a little bit. So there's a ton of people. I'm not drafting Jason Witten, but I'm absolutely going after Cooper. I'm going after Dak Prescott 100%, especially if Dak, where's Dak's ADP right now? I don't know, but I'm assuming it's late 13th, 14th, right?
Yeah, it's 14th something last time I checked, and he's
14th round.
I haven't with the projection of having Amari Cooper in for the entire year, having Ezekiel Elliott run the ball, Witten back, Randall Cobb, Michael Gallup as the second receiver with more targets than last year. If my projections are for this year would have been for last year, he would have been the 8th quarterback in scoring. 8th. And if you can get him in the 13th, 14th, 15th round in a 10-team, 12-team league, that's a steal.
It's a huge steal.
Yeah, he's going to be having Witten back. That's 2 touchdowns, at least 2 touchdowns in the red zone. I don't care how old he is. That's 2 touchdowns, passing, and that's going to open up for the running backs. I do think Ezekiel Elliott has to be more efficient in the red zone, and the whole team. He only had 17% success rate in the red zone and 1.9% touchdown rate, which is 2% lower than the league average, which is crazy for a back like him.
It is.
That shouldn't even be possible.
Right, especially with an offensive line like they had. Now I know they went through injury kind of problems, last year and last couple of years, but that's tough. You're right. You're absolutely right. He needs to get better. He needs to get more efficient when it comes into the red zone. Absolutely. But I think it's going to, with Witten there, like you said, opening it up. Cooper there all year.
Yeah.
I wonder how those stats would have been had Cooper been there all year. And we never know, and we can estimate and kind of see what trends where they were and kind of make our own guesses at it. But we'll hopefully be able to know this year, and I think it'll get better, and that's why he's my number one, and that's why Saquon is not my number one, is because I don't buy into their red zone offense. I do not buy into their rushing offense. I understand the volume's going to be there with Saquon. He's going to get the pass receptions, and the Giants are a manageable team. It's not like the Giants are about to go 0-16 or anything like that. They have possibility of winning, 5 to 7 games. And they
Great.
do. They do. I mean, it doesn't matter whether Daniel Jones. I mean, they stacked up on defense. They honestly have an all right team. It's just not there. It's not Super Bowl. I mean, if Eli's starting, that's where everyone's like, that's ridiculous. But they made some adjustments at their offensive line, and they got a lot of defense. But unfortunately, I just don't see them winning as much games, scoring as much points as Zeke and the Cowboys. So I'm taking Zeke over Saquon for a couple of those reasons. I think his red zone will be better. I think the Cowboys as a whole will be better in the red zone. The team will be better. They'll score more points, and in fantasy, that's what we want. Giants, Saquon's going to get the volume, but the team won't be there to back them up, to open holes, to give them these opportunities,
Definitely. I do have Saquon a little higher than you.
Yeah.
But as we were gonna try to touch on RB2 before we jump from the Cowboys,
That's right.
You are not a Tony Pollard believer at all.
No.
I do believe that he will be successful for the team. I think he's going to be a good pick for the team in football.
Yeah,
I don't believe he's going to be good in fantasy.
Like trying to say that Tony Pollard's a bad pick or anything like that. He's great for the Cowboys. I just don't think he's going to be fantasy relevant.
Yeah, I'm 100% down with that assumption. I don't think he's going to be. Let's jump team real quick to like Damian Williams. Right now I have him as RB2 on the Kansas City Chiefs because I love the fit with Carlos Hyde with the running patterns. How he fits with how Andy Reid calls plays and how that offensive line blocks. How do you feel about Damian Williams? I have him much higher graded than somebody like Tony Pollard or Ito Smith in quality, but I still believe that he's not going to be fantasy relevant a la how the Ravens do, for instance, where you just don't know who's going to break off. I think Damian Williams is an experiment that's going to go on for a few weeks, maybe 2-3, and then is not going to be too successful compared to Carlos Hyde.
Man, the Chiefs are super hard to predict, I feel, this year when it comes to the running back game. I love Damian Williams as a running back. I think he was underappreciated in Miami. I was, they loved Kenyon Drake, though. They went out and got Balaj, and they got rid of Damian Williams, which I thought was going to be a huge free agent signing for whatever team got him. It was the Chiefs. They had him third string behind Spencer Ware, behind Kareem Hunt. And I still just didn't understand it, right? And I'm just thinking Spencer Ware is old. Like, I don't understand why Kareem Hunt does what happens, and he's off the team, and now you're starting Spencer Ware over Damian Williams. I just didn't understand it. This kid is young. He looks like a good running back. But then Spencer Ware gets injured, and Damian Williams proves he proves me correct, and he shows the world that he can be a good running back in the NFL. So then I'm thinking, all right, they gave him an extension. They're not even going to try to draft a running back. It's going to be the Damian Williams show. Everyone's kind of hesitant on trying to draft him early before the draft because they're all assuming someone's before free agency because everyone else knows Damian Williams just isn't the guy. But in my head, I'm thinking he really is going to be the guy, and he showed that he can do it. Like I'm all in on him. I had him ranked top 10 before free agency, and I was excited. But then they get Carlos Hyde, and so he falls. Carlos Hyde, I love Carlos Hyde as well, especially when you put him in the Kansas City offense. As you mentioned, he's perfect for that offense, and he's literally perfect. So when it comes to rankings, it's still hard. I still have Damian Williams at 20th right now, thinking he's still probably the starter, and Carlos Hyde's going to be the running back too, as we talk about on the show, but this is one of the running back twos that I'm in love with, and I have him ranked 29th, and not sure where he's ranked via going in the draft, but I know he's lower than 30. I think he's around 40 right now, 42, but he's the one that I'm in love with. He's a huge sleeper. If you get him in the 8th, 9th round, Carlos Hyde's going to blow up, and he's going to be the guy, and he's going to make me wonder again, why is Damian Williams just not an every down running back? And I'll never know the answer. You can watch tape, but he's a good running back, but Carlos Hyde, man, he's about to come in and do this thing.
I think so too, and I think that's what keeps Williams out of it. But there's a stat that I like to bring up that I've created that I call the one game ceiling, or short just ceiling. And when I talk about that, it's more of what I expect from you on a good week, and something I like to see with younger players that they can show that they have a steady floor. But Williams haven't really been given an opportunity to pile that up, to have like, okay, he's had a few dud weeks. what did he do on those weeks? Well, it's difficult to say when you haven't been a number one back for that long, but the ceiling is easier to see, where it's like, okay, this is how many points I can expect for you on a good week when you're actually the number one back. And his ceiling is 15.4. 15.4. That's 35th in the league. Like, I can mention, like, James White has a high one. Kerryon Johnson, easily. Carlos Hyde. Crowell. And he's hurt. Latavius Murray. Lamar Miller. Tevin Coleman. Jay Ajayi also hurt. Or whatever. We don't know too much about him. He's not on a team. Adrian Peterson. CJ Anderson. Like, these are guys who we look at as over the hump or they're done. And they've shown that they can actually have a higher one-game ceiling. Like, I can expect if CJ Anderson has a good game and Damian Williams has a good game, most likely CJ Anderson will have the better game. And to me, that's worrisome about Damian Williams. I don't trust him. This is probably the player that I disagree with you the most. I just don't want him at all. I will call the side all the way. I think he's going to be a much better pick. He has a higher floor, so I feel a little safer having him as well. It's just about what the Chiefs want when it comes to running quality and how they fit. I think Carlos Hyde is, to me, the better player.
I mean, I agree, but like Damian Williams showed that he could put up fantasy relevant numbers. I mean, he damn near like got me into the playoffs and through the playoffs at least. He showed that he can do it. I just am, and see, this is one of the times where it's like the stats.
Derrick Henry can do that too. He's still not fantasy relevant throughout a whole season. He's
a different kind of running back. Damian Williams is that kind of scat back. He can get those pass receptions, and without Hill there right now, we're just hypothetically. I meant to say, if Hill doesn't come and no Hunt, like those passes got to go somewhere. That's why I just tweeted out. Not a lot of people love this either, but I put out Travis Kelce might be a number one draft pick, or not number one, excuse me, first round draft pick in PPR redraft or half point PPR redraft. Like, he's gonna get the volume. You know what I mean? If Hill doesn't play,
he's gonna have a huge volume either or. I feel,
and that's why I like him. Like he's been in the top 5 scoring entire fantasy football, every single position. He's been in the top 5 the last 3 years, and now you're gonna take away their number 1 target. Spare me on anyone who wants to wait on him. I almost want to draft him at like 104, 105. After those 3 running backs are gone, maybe after Nuke and after I'm drawing a blank. The guy I was just tweeting about, Michael Thomas and Adams, like 106, 107. But even Kelce could have more points than Nuke. Then, he literally can with the volume uptick he could see. I'm telling you.
I don't know if you could see my face. It was a huge frown. Like, more than Nuke, I don't know.
I'm telling you.
It's crazy. I have him projected for 24% of all the targets in Kansas City right now. 24% of all the targets, and that's with Tyreek Hill.
Bring it to 30, baby.
Whew. I'm gonna see what does that do for the targets. Let me bring that up real quick.
Real quick, too, while you bring that up, before we get back onto Kelce, let's jot that down, sidebar that for a second. Another running back, too, to be watching out for Kansas City. That's actually a undrafted free agent they just signed, James Boogie Williams. Or not just signed, but signed after. He's going to be a stud. He's a pass catcher, and that's exactly, it fits right into the Kansas City way. He's going to be a very good running back. He may not get his opportunity. He might be like Damian Williams, where he might be a playoff helper, but just someone to keep an eye on. Put him on your watch list.
If Travis Kelce has 30% of all the targets in Kansas City next year, with 532 pass attempts that I have them jot down for right now, that's 160 targets.
160 targets. Let's say 111 receptions.
With Mahomes as his quarterback, with how they work, I have him for 115 receptions with 72% catch rate.
Yep.
223 points.
Yep.
If that's the case, okay, I'm have to concede. If 30% is the number, that's freaking like running back numbers.
And they're gonna throw the ball to Kelce. He's gonna be all right with it. They're gonna go with it. Now, obviously, there's injury concerns and all that, but just hypothetically, he goes 16 games. That's literally top 5 draft relevancy.
Yeah.
Like
But
that.
it all comes down to is Tyreek Hill playing.
It all comes down to Tyreek Hill playing. This is all hypothetical.
Yeah.
This could all mute if Hill plays. Now we don't have anything on that, do we? Right? There's nothing going on.
Not any. They're being pretty quiet about it.
Don't they know us fantasy people want to know what's going on?
Yeah, we do want. If certain things come out, it is looking bad. But I haven't listened to the thing because I've been a little like, ugh, that's a little disturbing to listen to if it's actually what they say it is. So I've been staying away and just waiting for confirmation or either or, like which side it leans to. But changing teams again, he's an ex-Falcon who was our RB2 here / RB1 when Freeman went out. Went to a team that is, to me, stacked with RB2s, but no RB1 or clear RB1. You have Jarrett McKinnon, Tevin Coleman, Matt Breida, and I'm missing somebody.
I mean, there's Jeff Wilson there. There's who else? I feel like there's a fifth guy there.
Yeah, it's just so many.
They're loaded. Their wide receivers are loaded. Oh my! Like I tweeted out not too long ago, just a list of their quarterback. Their 5
quarterback is crazy.
And their 8 receivers. Like it's just like, what the heck are we doing here?
I really want one of those quarterbacks to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Like I'm in love. Actually, I'm in love with a guy I can't even remember his name with right now. What is CJ Beathard, bro?
Oh,
I'm in love with him, man. I love that guy, dude. I wish he would go get something.
I tried to pronounce his name on last week when you weren't here. I've heard. Do you know the Around the NFL podcast?
The what podcast?
Okay, it's a NFL podcast with a guy named Dan Hansis and a bunch of other people at NFL, and he called him Beat Hard.
Beat Hard.
And so I could not pronounce it because that I've heard he's making fun of it, but that's all I heard for the entire year. Like, oh, CJ Beat Hard. So I'm like, how do you actually pronounce it? Such a struggle last week.
CJ Beat Hard, man. It's so awful.
So it's Beathard? Okay, then.
It's Beathard. Oh, my gosh. That is the funniest thing I may have ever heard today. Oh, my God.
And I sat here by myself like, how do you pronounce this? I had to move on.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, that is the funniest thing ever, bro. That's great. I like him, though. He was in a rock band with his brother. And I saw the little segment on it. And ever since that segment, I was like, I hope you do great, So that's just a little man crush. Like I don't expect him to do much, but I'm rooting for him. I'm pulling for him.
Yeah, I really like both Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard.
Yep.
See, now I can say it.
Mullins is great, dude. Nick Mullins is great. You're 100%. Like I love those, but the running backs though.
My bad. Yeah, Tevin Coleman. So I've always had, since I live in Atlanta, I've had like a hate-love relationship with Tevin Coleman. Like, oh, he's gonna be the next guy. Nope, he's not. He's good. He's not great. Jarrett McKinnon, coming from Minnesota, everybody was super hype. I really hope and I do believe I made a whole video about me not being too hype about him with how he fits with the running scheme that Shanahan runs. And then Matt Breida, I was concerned with last year when people were like, we gotta pick him up. So now it feels like you have 3 guys plus Wilson. Jeff Wilson and Mostert, and it's just it feels like the old Seahawks after Marshawn left, where it's like you have no idea what's going on. Who's getting the ball this game? Who's getting the ball next game? If you're spending a draft pick, like where do you go? To me, I'm not touching any running back in a situation like that. I don't like to be drafting players where it's tossing, blindfold every week.
It's the worst. You always want to avoid a headache. I was just talking to actually a coworker of mine today about this, and we were talking about something, and I related it to football, and I said, you never want to draft 2 quarterbacks. You never want to. I'll just leave it at. You never want to draft 2 quarterbacks, and the reason being, in my opinion, like the reason I stick on this isn't because you're like wasting draft value or anything like that. It's because you don't want the headache every week. You don't want to sit there and be making the wrong decision. And all the stats and all the numbers and on paper would point to, player A But of course, it's the NFL, so player B gets all these, late quarter stats and gets more points. And you lose by 3, and you could have started your other quarterback and could have got 5. But no one in the right mind would have started player B. But and of course you didn't either. And then week 2 comes and you start player B because he's going to be the guy. Now his stats are loaded and he's playing the team that just let up 500 yards. And so we're going. But of course it's player A who's sitting on your bench who gets more. And it's literally just a week after week headache. And it's the same thing when it comes to like the RBBCs. Now 4, 5, 6 years ago, RBBCs were obviously like no one wanted them. No one wanted to touch them. You always wanted the bell cow. But nowadays the bell cow isn't really there, right? So you have RBBCs, but this RBBC is one that you just don't even know how to predict. Like you can't even predict in any way, shape, or form if it's going to be Coleman 60% with everyone else kind of equaling up the 40%, including McKinnon only getting like 20, 25. Or is it going to be the McKinnon show because he sat and learned the offense all year last year? Is it going to be the Tevin Coleman show because he has a history with Kyle Shanahan? I know you said you don't like Tevin Coleman. I actually do like Tevin Coleman this year, and it's just because thinking of the history gets my jollies going. But if you look at it right now, Tevin Coleman's ADP is 10th pick in the 6th round. Jerick McKinnon's is the 7th or the 3rd pick in the 7th round. They're right back to back via running. They're right back to back ahead of Tevin Coleman and Jerick McKinnon, who are back to back. You'd be missing out on guys like James White, Lamar Miller, Jordan Howard. I would probably take those 2 over all 3 of those guys. But let's talk about if there's anyone that you personally would like to take instead of Tevin Coleman or Jerick McKinnon. So you say you need a running back, right? You're a 10th pick in the 6th round. All right. The top running backs remaining would be like Tevin Coleman, Jerick McKinnon, Rashad Penny, Latavius Murray, Kareem Hunt, LeSean McCoy, David Montgomery, Royce Freeman, Carlos Hyde, Austin Eckler, Adrian Peterson. Just to name like the top.
That was a lot. Probably Royce Freeman or Austin Eckler for me. I'm like, sure, that game where Eckler was supposed to blow up last year. That game where Gordon wasn't playing, he failed. But all the times where Gordon actually was playing, you could get 10 points out of Eckler from time to time. And Royce Freeman, I like that running offense. Feel good because I don't want Lamar Miller. I don't want Penny. I definitely don't want Jordan Howard. Oh, that whole to me, I'm like, I just don't want a running back around here at all. But if I have to pick one, I'll probably go with Royce Freeman. He only has one person ahead of him who, like, I love Phillip Lindsay, but if he goes out, is the Royce Freeman show. It's kind of the same with Murray, but if Kamara goes out, Eckler, if Gordon goes out, they don't have that much competition. Eckler has that other guy, what's his name? He made a pretty big impact in one game last year.
Justin Johnson? Is that what I want to say? You're talking about the 3rd string in Los Angeles, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like Justin something. I can't remember. But I do know who you're talking about. I get what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I'll have to go with Justin Jackson.
That's what it is.
I'll have to go with somebody who has less competition, and that would be...
Those 2 over Coleman or McKinnon, huh?
Yeah. Just because, like, I would try to assume that they can take over if their number 1 guy goes down. Because with the 49ers, it's still like, if, let's say it's the Tevin Coleman show. He's the number 1 running back. And you went with McKinnon. Oh, that's fine. Coleman goes down. He still has Breida and Wilson. Right. Or Mostert. It's still crowded. The other guys are like, oh, Kamara went down. Latavius Murray. Here you go.
Yeah, that's 100% true. That's 100% true. I don't mind Murray. I just don't know if I could draft Murray there, especially with David Montgomery on the board. That would be my guy over Coleman, over McKinnon. The 2 guys I would be looking at would be McCoy and Montgomery. McCoy just because
You said Montgomery, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So Montgomery, exactly. You can agree on that. Like, Montgomery's going to be the stud in Chicago. He's going to be the bell cow in my opinion. So I'm definitely he's going the 2nd pick in the 8th round right now. I think that's absurd. But then let's talk about McCoy, too, real quick. I like what Buffalo did with their offensive line this year. They fully revamped it. They can get a chemistry going. Shady could be a sneaky 1,000-yard running back in Buffalo. If Josh Allen, like, can whip that ball 65 yards like we know he can to John Brown. Then you got like Reuben Foster running. You got a lot of other people. I actually like undrafted free agent, David Sills. He's there. He's gonna make an impact. I promise you. But Zay Jones, like a lot of people. If Josh Allen,
I like Zay this year.
I don't even know, man. I don't know.
This year, I'm down with him and Cortland Sutton. I think they're gonna take huge leaps if we're talking wide receivers.
Sutton. I fully agree with Cortland Sutton. It just scares me with Flacco because when was the last time you were excited about a Baltimore wide receiver?
John Brown before Lamar Jackson.
Okay, well that's good because I was too. But before that, it was maybe Jeremy Maclin like 3 years ago. Like they're just. Flacco wasn't given the receivers, so it's scary. Like, as much as I want to love Deshaun Hamilton and I want to love Cortland Sutton and I don't really love Emmanuel Sanders, but as much as I want to love the Denver receivers, like, I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid of Joe Flacco.
Yeah, no, you should be. No, when it comes to Shady, he's a little too shady for me. I was talking to a Buffalo fan at work a couple of days ago, and I'm like, I just can't draft him no more. I tried to be unbiased and not put personal feelings into the draft, but LeSean McCoy is just a guy I'd rather pick a worse player.
Hold on. Let me stop you real quick because I felt the same way, and I feel the same way, and especially because McCoy, before this year, was always a top 20 running back. Right? Always. Yeah. It's never under. He's going right now as the 36th running back. He is the last bell cow running back to be drafted. Starting running back. Maybe David Montgomery if you're going to consider him starting over Tariq Cohen. But maybe Royce Freeman. But I want to talk about Royce Freeman. I want to talk about that real quick. But just real quick, like LeSean McCoy, he's going 36th like running back. I am fully on board drafting him as my 4th running back. But I agree not taking him as my running back 1 or 2. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you have that. What is the which round is it in the NFL draft? The 4th round, the criminal round, where you're like, we can't draft him in the 1st, but in the 4th.
Right, exactly. And that's where I'm at on McCoy right now. That's where he says he's too old for me to be drafting him as a running back 2, like he tried to be last year and the year before that. But this year, if you're going to tell me he's going to be my running back 4 and they got a revamped offense, I'll take it.
What about Yeldon then?
About who?
TJ Yeldon.
Oh, Yeldon. Yeah. I don't know. Man, I actually kind of like Devin Singletary more than I like Yeldon this year. But it kind of scared. The reason why I'm not big on McCoy, like my personal devil's advocate on McCoy is they got Yeldon, Frank Gore, and Devin Singletary there. That's a lot of mouths to feed, and Buffalo runs the ball hard, right? So they're going to maybe start saving McCoy for third down. I don't want to, this is just an idea, but maybe he becomes a third down back, and it's Gore and and Yeldon who kind of power the first two downs. I don't know, just an idea, but there's a lot of mouths to feed. I don't know. I don't know what.
And that's one of the reasons. Like when it comes to picking up like RB2s, or
right.
Like you said with Montgomery, I like those guys that have like no competition. And we talked about it the other time with darting, where it's like, oh, this guy might end up being the number 1 back. Let me throw a dart at David Montgomery. Let me throw a dart at Peyton Barber. Like Royce Freeman. F it. Let's give him a shot.
Deonta Foreman. Like if Lamar Miller goes down, who's backing up Foreman?
Yeah.
Blue's gone. Like it's just those kind of, like Jalen Samuels. Like if Connor goes down, it's probably going to be Jalen Samuels' show. I mean, Benny Snell's there, but probably going to be the Jalen Samuels. So those kind of guys, I do 100% agree with you. Real quick, though, I wanted to talk. You were talking about Royce Freeman a lot. I'm actually kind of getting down on Royce Freeman. I think it's about to be Phil. I was looking up the Phillip Lindsay injury and stuff. He's coming to play, baby. He's going to be here. It's going to be the Lindsay show.
Lindsay is legit one of my favorite players. I think I've drafted him in our latest mock draft as well. No, maybe not. I might have not got him, but I love Phillip Lindsay. Him and Kerryon Johnson are my pet cats this year. I love getting them on my team. Even though they said, we're going to limit Kerryon's touches. Please don't. His running patterns, him and Lindsay's are the youngest guys with the best running patterns in the league. They get calls to running lanes where that correlates the most with fantasy scoring, and they're productive in those lanes. For Kerryon, it's more about volume. Get him the ball, let him do his thing, and he will pile it up because he has the stats in the right running lanes. And Lindsay, just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
I love them. They remind me, like, I'll let you talk and I'll bring up who they remind me of because I forgot it right now. But you love Lindsay as well. How do you feel about Kerryon Johnson since you're a Detroit guy?
Yeah. I'll put my bias away. Like, I want Kerryon Johnson to be the best running back there is. But that put away. We'll put that away, and I'll talk just fantasy relevancy here. I do think I have him in my top 10. I actually personally think I have him number 10, which is probably I do have him at 10, which is higher than Le'Veon Bell at 11, Sony Michel at 13, Cook at 14. That's pretty much Jones, Freeman, but. The reason I have that isn't because of my love for Detroit or anything like that, and maybe it persuades it a little, but no, it's because you bring in Bevel as an offensive coordinator, and he's a running offensive coordinator, but who knows how to open up a playbook and not rely on the run game, but he knows how to have a creative playbook that gets his run game establishing his pass game, and they're going to use it in volume. They got C.J. Anderson to back him up, which everyone's like kind of worried about, which kind of. I just don't understand it. I mean, C.J. Anderson showed that he can be a profitable running back in the playoffs last year. We all saw it. Obviously, we all fell in love with him. But he's not a guy who's going to come in and run 30% of the time. I just don't think it's going to happen like that. I think he's going to be very limited. It might be like that in the first couple weeks, but it's soon going to be the carry-on show throughout the season. And he is a fun running back. He is a guy who's just out there having fun, loving what he's doing. And I think that brings a lot to the game. And I think the whole team's going to be a lot better this year. I think the passing game's going to be better. The defense is going to be better. If Patricia's got a scheme like in place, last year was a rebuild. It wasn't a rebuild like for the Lions. It was just kind of a remold for the Patricia style. Yeah. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
and
definitely.
He needed to mold that into a perfect base. And now it's that base, and now we're going to start painting. Now we're going to start putting that base into a beautiful, pristine order, and we're gonna ship it, and we're gonna make it the best ever because we're gonna be great, right? We're gonna be great, and the offense is going to be prolific. The defense is going to be great. Kerryon Johnson's probably gonna be the number 1 running back in the entire NFL. But more realistic, top 10.
This is how I talk about the Cowboys like last year. Like, Allen Hurns is going to be boss, and then I did like my numbers on it. Holy shit, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be terrible. But I wanted him to be great.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But no, with Kerryon Johnson, where he runs the ball, he runs it. His play calling, or the play calling in Detroit, reminds me of how Adrian Peterson gets his calls. Like, straight up the middle and then bounce outside the ends. Like, is no runs in the B or C gap, just is straight up the A gap or to the outsides. And I love that. It's so efficient when it comes to fantasy scoring. Instead of having running between the guard and the tackle, you just run between the center and the guard, and a bunch of times, and then all of a sudden you put in a tight end and you run outside him, and you set up that run up the middle to then bounce it outside. And I think it's a very efficient way to score a lot of fantasy points. Maybe not win football games, but to score fantasy points, it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
And Lindsay has the same style. Christian McCaffrey to a certain extent. Melvin Gordon, Ezekiel Elliott, Todd Gurley, they're more like all-rounded. They run in every lane, but they're so efficient doing it that they can kind of they do it that way. And then you have James Conner, who I've never seen anything. He just runs A and B gap and never goes anywhere else, basically. It's just weird. Same with Kareem Hunt. He just goes straight up.
I wonder what's going to happen in Cleveland. Like, when Hunt comes back in the eighth week, is it over for Chubb? That becomes another kind of San Francisco thing. It's like, who's going to be the guy? Is it going to be Chubb? Is they just going to show no love to Hunt? Like, I don't know what's happening there. I'm kind of trying to buy in on Hunt. If I can win and get, 6-2 going into 5-2 going into week 8, and Hunt's back. That might be all right if I can stash him on my bench.
Yeah, if he goes in the 8th right now, that's a little steep for me for a guy that's gone that long.
Yeah, he is going. Yeah, when did I say he was going? Is that what we said? Was he was 8th round?
I think it was 8th round.
Let me see. Oh my God, 9th pick in the 7th round.
7th.
Yeah, that's way too early for me. I'm excited on that. No way.
No, like you can't spend that on him.
No,
like that's you must have the first 7 picks or 6 picks you made, like you're like, oh, I got Mahomes, Kelce, Ezekiel Elliott, and Melvin Gordon in the first 4 rounds. Like, if you doing that in the 7th.
What are you doing with the Philadelphia running backs?
Oh, not touching at all. Especially not Jordan Howard.
I loved Jordan until they drafted
I do these scheme fit videos here on the channel. You might want to check them out. They're really good, where I analyze how the play calling works with the blocking scheme, or where they're most proficient at blocking, with where the new running back or wide receiver fits in. And Jordan Howard is by far, over the last 3 years, the worst fit I've ever seen when it comes to it. Like, where he's good, Philadelphia is bad at blocking. Where he's good, Doug Peterson just doesn't call plays. And where he's bad is, like, Doug calls plays there all the time. So I'm very skeptical. Sure, I can be, he can be coached to do something else in another, like, it's not a science, like, end all be all, but it's an indicator to, like, I kind of had, when I did the analysis with Amari Cooper and Dak Prescott last year, I knew it was going to be an improvement because they matched each other very well. And the same with for this year, I'm very hype on Carlos Hyde and Mark Ingram to their respective teams, the Ravens and the Chiefs. So, like I said, not an exact science, but I'm very scared of Jordan Howard. I don't want anything to do with the Eagles running backs as a whole. Like I said, I try to stay away from those running back by committee, and especially the ones where you don't even know who the number 1 guy is. Is Josh Adams still going to be on the team?
I don't know, but he's great. I like Josh Adams. I was like for him to be the guy, but apparently not. I don't know. He's pretty an uphill. He's kind of a straight up runner, but I like him. I just can't get on any Philly. Like, where are the Philly boys going in the drafts these days? Because, like Miles Sanders, it looks like Miles Sanders is going 11th pick, 10th round. He would be the guy that I took a shot in the dark on in the 10th round. Like, I wouldn't have a problem. I like Miles Sanders a lot, and he might not be a guy that starts out great, but he could be a guy that really helps your team out in the middle of the season stretch.
Yeah, you will have to stash eventually, but I think, what do you say he went 11th round? I would much rather have, like, Jamal Williams and hope that, like, Aaron Jones goes down.
He was right behind him. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I do get that, but just I feel like even if Jamal Williams, and even if Aaron Jones goes down in the ball, they tried to give it to Jamal Williams. They tried to let him be the number 1 running back, but they just, like, they don't like him. He doesn't fit the Green Bay profile. Like, he's not the guy. Like, I would rather have, like, I guess, like, behind Miles Sanders was Jamal Williams, Nyheim Hines, Matt Breida, Peyton Barber, Ito Smith, Ronald Jones, Darrell Henderson, Rex Burkhead, Devin Singletary, Malcolm Brown. I don't really want any of those guys. I would rather have Miles Sanders. I definitely wouldn't mind Ronald Jones at that pick. I don't mind taking Ronald Jones in the 10th round.
One of the Bucs guys.
Yeah, at that point, I don't want Peyton Barber. Again, Peyton Barber is the same thing as Jamal Williams. Fuck it, he can get. Excuse my French. He can get a. Sorry, he can get all the volume he wants. He's only going to be averaging 2.5 yards per carry. So I just don't want Jamal Williams. I don't want Peyton Barber. But Nyheim Hines, Ronald Jones, Miles Sanders. Out of those two,
you can maybe get Gus Edwards.
Yeah, but Gus Edwards, man, Baltimore doesn't even know what they're doing. It's gonna be the Ingram show, 100%, and then after that, I guess they're gonna try to do Gus Edwards or Ken Dixon, or who's the guy they drafted? I'm drawing a blank on him.
They have like 4 guys too. But what about Adrian Peterson? He doesn't have. Sure, he has guys, and I'm
gonna draft Peterson in the 11th round.
Yeah, you can get him.
Adrian Peterson in the 10th, or in the 10th. I was about to be like the 100th round. Like, I'm not drafting Adrian Peterson. It's Juice's show there and the other guy they just drafted. Why am I drawing so many blanks on these guys they drafted? Whoever they just got, I like him too.
The draft just ended. It's very much speculation at this point. By training camp, we're gonna know so much more, and it's gonna be so many injuries that gonna be like, oh, who knew that this guy was gonna be hurt? So of course this guy is a top 20 pick now because his main competition went down.
Right.
Like if Devonta Freeman hurts himself in training camp, all of a sudden Ito Smith and now I'm drawing a blank on the other guy that the Falcons drafted. Like they're gonna go up high. Sure, they have Dirk Cutter who want to throw the ball, but look at that offensive line, what they spent on it. They're gonna try to run the ball. That's all that's being talked about in Atlanta. Focus on the run game. We want to establish the run game. Sure, you have I don't know if there's a duo of receiver quarterback better in the league right now than Ryan and Julio, but you got to have some sort of running game. And if Freeman goes down in training camp, all of a sudden you have a guy nobody talks about sprung up, maybe not top 20 pick, but top 30. So it's very difficult to say right now, but I think we covered a lot of RB2s.
Sure did.
Latavius Murray, handcuff. That's about it, right?
Yeah, I like Murray. I mean, if AK goes down, I like Murray, but there's a couple other guys that I kind of have my eye on in New Orleans. I don't know. Murray's a red zone threat, but I don't think he's much more than that anymore.
No, to me, he's nothing more than a handcuff. Like if I get Kamara, I don't have to spend a lot to get Murray.
Right, exactly. I mean, where's he going right now, Murray?
What do you say, 8th? He's going 103rd overall. So depending on what,
yeah.
I mean, you can get him in the 10th in a 10-team league there, or 11th round in a 10-team league. But I mean, that's a decent. You gotta sometimes you gotta handcuff it too.
Yep, agreed.
But I think we covered a lot in this episode. Do you have anything special coming up in the near future?
No, I mean, not really. I mean, we got some shows going. I got a podcast kind of in the works right now, with a couple guys, but I don't really want to drop too much on it because I don't know what's happening exactly with it. But other than that, follow me on Twitter at Nick Faber NFL. Always joining these shows. Always love talking fantasy. Bring it up. I love it.
He truly does, and I appreciate you coming on. I'm gonna try to schedule you in a few weeks as well. There will not be a show next week. There will be a video on Saturday with the Minnesota Vikings, focusing on the score projections for all their fantasy starts or fantasy relevant players. On Thursday, I'm digging into the wide receiver ceilings, so be sure to check that out on cstfantasy.com. And catch you again next time. We'll be live streaming. Thank you so much for joining us.